Hello. In today's video, we'll be going over calculated fields in Visual DB. So let's get right into it. First, I'm going to show you a demo of calculated fields and how you might use it. So what you're seeing in front of you is a sheet dedicated to stock values. So first, we have our stock symbol, our purchase date, our purchase price, our quantity, our quote, or basically the present value of it. And then we have these three fields on the right here, and these are our calculated fields. So let's go through them one by one. First, we have our original investment, which is quantity times purchase price. So basically how much all of these shares or stocks cost in the first place. We have our current value, which is our quote times our quantity. And then basically that's just how much the stocks in total are worth today. And then we have our profit, which is our current value minus our original investment. If we look down at the bottom here, we'll see this number in parentheses. And basically all that indicates is that that number is negative. So all these numbers don't have parentheses around them, so they're not negative. This number is negative, so it's got a parenthesis around it. Another thing that I want to touch on is why all of these fields are grayed out. And that is because since they're calculated fields, they cannot be edited directly, right? I can't change this original investment directly to be 2000. I can't type that in. And the reason why that makes sense is because a calculated field has fields that calculate its value. So if I changed original investment directly, I would have to figure out a value, for example, our quantity and our purchase price, right? So I can't edit this directly, but what I can do is I can change the purchase price, and then that'll change the original investment because it's calculated off of that. So you can't edit these directly, but you can edit them by changing the underlying fields that are used to calculate it, right? So for example, if I change this quote to be 300, for example, pay attention to the associated current value and profit fields. If I press enter here, you'll notice that the current value and the profit changed. For example, let me change it again, change it to 200. We'll see those values change accordingly. One last thing I want to touch on with this sheet is at the bottom here with our sums. And you'll notice that we calculated the sum of our original investment. So in total, the original price for all of these stocks combined all together was $29,000 and some change. Next, we have our current value sum, which is basically how much it's worth in total today, which is 699,530. You get the point. That's how much it's worth today. That would be like your whole stock portfolio. And then finally, we have your profit, which is basically just your current value minus your original investment, just the sum of it, right? So that's what we'll be trying to make today in today's video. So let's go over how to make something like this. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to click New Query. So here we're going to give the query a name. Let's call it Investment Query, like so. And let's choose a connection and then press Continue. What we'll do from here is add a main table. Let's choose investments and notice that all these fields are ones we've seen before. Let's add that and let's press OK. Let's go to our sheet. Let's create our sheet. Let's call it investment sheet, like so. Let's choose the query we just made, which is investment query. Press continue. And then from here, we'll see some issues. So the first thing is where are our calculated fields, right? How do we make them? So how we do that is if we go back, right, to our query, and let's go to the one we made, our investment query. Let's highlight it by clicking on it. And if we press calculated fields, we can add calculated fields. So let's add a new one. Let's call this one original and use underscores when making field names because spaces are not allowed. But let's call it original investment. So to calculate our original investment, we need the quantity times the purchase price. So how we do that is we can go down here where our selections are, and we can look at all the different fields that are available within this table, and we can select them and paste them. So this is useful if you don't know exactly what you want. So we want our quantity, right? Let's paste that, then multiply. So if you go to operator, the asterisk is our multiply, so we'll paste that. And then let's go back to our field, and the purchase price is what we want to multiply by. So let's check our formula. It looks all good, and we can just press OK, and that is our first calculated field done. Let's create another one. Let's call this one our current value. And for this one, let's type in the formula instead of pasting. So we want to do quantity, and it will autocomplete for us if we want to, multiplied by our quote, or in other words, our current value of an individual stock. So let's do that, and let's check that formula. Looks all good, and let's press OK. And then finally, we want to calculate the profit. So first, let's give it a name, like so. And then our profit is our quote, or how much it's worth today, minus our purchase price, right? How much we bought it for, multiplied by how many we bought, right? So that's our profit. Let's press OK. And those are all of the calculated fields created. Let's go to our sheet and see what we can do. So here we'll notice where's the calculated fields, right? So what we have to do is we have to press on hide fields, and we'll notice all of our calculated fields are here, and we can turn them on. So like that, we can have all of our calculated fields. Next, what we'll do is format them to make them look a little bit better. If we click on formatting here, we can change this to a currency. Let's change the decimal places to 2 because this is money and cents are a thing, but beyond that, it doesn't matter. We can change our negative numbers to parentheses, which is what we used before, and let's use a thousand separator. And we press OK, and we can see all of that implemented, making those numbers look nice. Let's do that for current value. Let's make it currency, 2 decimal places, that and that. Looks great. Profit, format it, currency, 2 decimal places, parenthesis, thousand separator. Looks good. Quote, same deal, currency, 2 decimal places, that and that. Looks good. And then purchase price, same deal. Currency, 2 decimal places, parentheses, thousand separator. And then for quantity, it's a little bit different. We want to keep it as a number. We don't want any decimal places because we only deal in whole number stocks. You could change that if you wanted to, but for this, we'll just keep the decimals to 0. Negatives don't really matter, but thousand separator is something that we want, so let's do that. So now, for this 2000, it's got a comma now. Looks better, right? So that is the formatting of all of our different fields. And then finally, for our sums of all of our different fields, we can go down to the bottom and click on summary down here and press sum. And then we get our nice little sum values that we can change accordingly. So that is calculated fields in Visual DB. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.